Welcome to the Go Shout Love podcast. My name is Seth Carnell, and I am very pleased to bring you an episode with a good dose of personality. We are talking to a wonderful family with a wonderful approach to life and all of its lessons. Today we are talking with Cassie, the mother to Jack, a young boy with Lissencephaly Miller-Dieker syndrome, epilepsy, hydrocephalus, and that's just to name a few of his diagnoses. Cassie will talk a bit into what all of this means for Jack's daily life, and also what it's like to find out about all of these diagnoses. What is amazing about this conversation is that Cassie is a teacher to adult students who are going into elementary teaching and special education. She is a teacher of teachers. Now that being said, she will be the first to admit that Jack teaches her so much. Not only about life and love, but about how to approach elementary and special education teaching. The way we learn from these kids and these families has no limitations. Leading the charge on this episode is Jessica Santo, our family relations director and talented photographer, along with the founder of Go Shout Love and community relations director Kristen Estock. These ladies have easily become two of my favorite people, and I'm glad to call them dear friends. I love our team at Go Shout Love, and I sincerely hope you feel a part of the team by listening to these episodes. You will also hear from Jack's Grammy, Nancy, a loving and proud mother to Cassie, and grandmother to Jack. An incredible personality that is contagious, and we were delighted to have her join us. Also, as a second bonus, we have Jack's nurse, Anne. Nurses like Anne become a member of the family, and she was gracious enough to give us an insight into her life as a caretaker to Jack and how he has impacted her. Please take a second to rate and review us on whatever platform you are listening on. I would appreciate it. And here to get us started is Jessica.
Jim's not here today, Jack's dad. So can you tell us where he is today?
Jim is working today. He is a truck driver for Sheetz. So he makes deliveries and unloads heavy trucks. He would tell you they're very heavy.
And does he work nights?
He does. He works nights, and he usually works overnight. So he's usually he left yesterday and he'll be home late tonight. But it works out well because he's home, more during the day and more time together.
So if he were here, let's see if you can answer a couple questions in place of him. What would you think has changed Jim the most with Jack being in his life?
Well, Jim was a dad when I met him and a wonderful father. He has always been and always put his children first, but there's something about Jack that has really changed us all, especially Jim. Watching him with Jack is beautiful. He keeps things light. He will, when he comes downstairs, because Jack's bedroom's downstairs, when Jim comes downstairs, he jumps on top of the bed. Everybody laughs at that, but he does. He puts his arms underneath his shoulders and gives him kisses and usually gets a big smile or a giggle out of him.
And we have Jack's amazing and wonderful Grammy here with us too. So Grammy, I wanted to know what Jack has taught you in this journey as a grandmother.
Oh, he's taught me everything. He's just everything. I don't know how to explain it. I just need to see him smile every morning and I'm okay.
And you guys were telling us that you guys actually lived together, and that was, you have moved in with your mom, and that you had, your make-a-wish was to renovate a bathroom for Jack. Is that right?
Yes, that's correct.
So it's nice that you guys can all be together.
Yeah, in 2015, my husband and I sold our home and decided to move in with my mom and dad. And we made this decision as a family, and with the help of our contractor, Nate Deal, who is a good friend of ours, he came into our home and we were all sitting around the bar and the kitchen table, the counter, and he said, if anyone can make this work, you guys can. So he helped us put on a beautiful addition to our home, and so we all live together.
Yeah,
it is
really
amazing.
going
well.
It's amazing.
And you mentioned when we were outside taking pictures that you love opening your door and there's Jack.
Yeah, there's a therapy room that connects us, and when they designed the renovation, it actually doubled the size of our house. We have a 3-bedroom split entry that Cassie grew up in, but it all connects us through his therapy room. So it's kind of neat.
That's neat.
We just have to walk through the therapy room, and there he is, where they opened up the original house, and we're behind them. But there's a door that closes us off when we need to be by ourselves. We don't hear anything over there unless we open the door.
That's really
So it works out
special.
really well. And my husband said that, we all need to be together just to get through this. So
Yeah.
this is what we're doing. So we're making it work. And it's pretty special. It's really
great.
special.
Cassie, you mentioned to me a lot, and I know you mentioned it today, that Jack is your greatest teacher. Can you share with us some of the biggest lessons? I know it's a loaded question, but some of the biggest lessons that you have learned from Jack?
Is, I guess one of the biggest lessons I've learned from Jack would be my strength and my ability to be brave in tough situations. I was always a very shy little girl, and I feel like I always struggled around a lot of people. I was, not very brave. And I am a teacher. So in my last role in our local school district was to be an instructional coach. So I had to get up in front of large groups of teachers and talk and share different instructional strategies that would help better their classroom. So I kind of look at Jack as my instructional coach, because he's teaching me all kinds of coping strategies to be able to deal with life with a medically complicated child. So he's taught me how to be brave and strong and trust in God and trust in the medical field that takes great care of him. So that's probably one of the biggest lessons that he's taught me. You want me to go on?
Yeah, if you would like to.
So
yeah.
he has also taught me so much about the medical field. I would never have ever considered going into the medical field, being a nurse, being a doctor, and now I feel like that could probably be my dream one day. Not now, but one day, because I have just found such a passion for everything medical. I find doctors to be brilliant and fascinating, and nurses to be our angels that really do run the show and take care of everything when we're inpatient and then when we're at home too. I've learned so much from all of these people that Jack has brought into my life. So I always say that, he's the reason why I've learned and felt more comfortable about things.
Did you ever get overwhelmed when he was first diagnosed with all of the medical jargon that you were being filled with?
I was so overwhelmed, and I have to say my husband was the stronger one at the beginning. Now I am, of course, but when Jack had his first big seizure, I was glad that my husband was with me at the time. We were at an outpatient therapy clinic, and he started having infantile spasms that wouldn't stop. They went on for probably 45 minutes. By the time we got to the hospital, they weren't really sure if he was having seizures or not, because they don't look typical. But then he did it in front of the doctor, and the ER doctor's wife was actually a pediatrician. So I felt like he came into our lives for the right reason too. And he saw it, and he knew then that Jack was seizing and that he needed to get to Children's Hospital of Pittsburgh. So we're about a 2-hour commute from there. But in the meantime, we needed to get an IV line on Jack, and that was impossible. We couldn't do it. The nurses tried and tried and tried. Whenever Jamie, our neighbor, was able to finally get an IV on Jack, I couldn't be in the room. I had to leave. I was a mess out in the hallway. I just wasn't ready to deal with any of that yet. And my husband stayed with him. And then when we get to Pittsburgh and then he needed an MRI, my husband went with him, because I wasn't ready to do that. But that changed really quickly. So it was scary at the beginning. we didn't know.
What do you think changed your mindset of that? Like where you were afraid, and then what changed your mind specifically to say, okay, I got to step up and do this now?
I think it was Jack's first neurologist, Dr. Godella. When he came to tell us about the MRI, it was a Saturday morning, and he just looked at us and said, "We will get Jack to his dying destiny." Like, it was just the sweetest words that he could say, knowing what he knew about his brain malformation and knowing that he couldn't answer any of my questions at the time. Jack was 4 months old. My immediate thoughts were, is he going to walk? Is he going to talk? And he's like, I don't know. So we just didn't know. So with all of the not knowing, just having that peace that a doctor said that it was going to be okay, and we were gonna make it through. He was breathing.
You mentioned just a little while ago that you are a teacher, and you're kind of a teacher of teachers. Is that right? Can you tell us a little bit about that and what you specifically teach?
Yes, I work at St. Francis University, and I work in the education department, so I supervise student teachers.
Your mom, I'm sorry, Grammy's over here sitting so proud.
She loves this, and I am very blessed to be doing this because I left my job at our local school district in 2014 to care for Jack, and it was time for me to get back to something, to do something for myself, because it wasn't healthy for me to sit and hold Jack all day, even though that's all I really want to do. So I started substitute teaching, and then I worked briefly for a cyber school, and my old principal had left the school district as well and went to St. Francis to work, and she wanted me to join her in supervising student teachers. So I started out small. Each semester I supervise anywhere from 2 to 10 student teachers, and I also teach some courses. I do some face-to-face and a lot of online instruction. So I do that for graduate education, adult degree education, and then our undergrad students. So we've been able to use Jack to help us with some strategies, teaching, instruction, special education. One of my courses is developmentally appropriate practice. So Jack being developmentally delayed, I had my students create lessons or activities that would meet his needs. So they've been able to learn what it's like to be with an exceptional learner and have an exceptional learner to practice with. So, so he has been a teacher. Mm-hmm. We also did some work with our occupational therapy program, which is such a great program at St. Francis, and I've made many friends in that department. And Jack has been kind of a clinical patient for the students taking the PEDS lab. So he gets to go up to St. Francis once a week in the fall for about 6 to 8 weeks and work with OT students. So
our OT students kind of practicing their therapies on him,
yes,
which is a great thing for Jack too.
It is. It's such an advantage for him too to get extra therapy.
That's wonderful.
Yeah, and St. Francis also has the PA program, the nursing program, and the PT program. So we've kind of just put it out there that we're more than willing to, if they need anything or they need a case study, to be able to work with Jack. So he should be on the payroll.
Yeah, seriously.
So that's kind of how Jack's been a teacher in the lives of others too. So.
And you mentioned to me, well, not to me, you just mentioned it, that you were a teacher. Mm-hmm. And then you mentioned to me how you feel, how little you knew or were prepared as a teacher. And then now, after having Jack, realizing how little you knew then. Yeah. What would you say to educators now who are pre-Jack, as you were saying? Mm-hmm. What do you think's missing in the education field for teachers, for the schools that you've seen with your student teachers, for exceptional learners?
Yeah, I think because exceptional learners are so diverse, there's not one thing. Mm-hmm. I think that there's so many different disorders, so many different behavioral issues, so many different exceptionalities that nothing is going to prepare you for what you need to know until you get out in the field, until you gain these experiences, until you see for yourself what's happening. And I think that's what happened to me. I went to Penn State. I had a great education program, but I didn't know anything about early intervention. I didn't know anything about, OT, PT, speech therapy, vision therapy. I didn't even know there was such a thing. I didn't know about all of these other agencies that are there to help families and parents too. And I think it's our job as educators to also know these things so we can help parents that need
Are there opportunities out there? Are there like workshops, classes like you're doing through your... Are there enough opportunities out there for teachers to learn this, to be prepared?
I think it probably depends on where you're at in the world.
Sounds like there needs to be more.
Yeah, I think that it would be helpful if there were more. There's always conferences and things like that.
Right.
But then, people...
It's kind of on your time. And
your time, your wallet, and getting off of...
But they're so important. And it should be something
it should be
that
prioritized.
It is so important. And, until you're... Even when you think about schoolhouses and school buildings and what kind of classes are available in each school. This school might just be kindergarten to fourth grade or pre-K to fourth grade. But this school building might be grades 1 to 3, but also house an autistic support classroom. You're not going to be exposed to that in the other building, pre-K to 4, but you would be exposed to that as a teacher, as a student, as a child too, when we're talking about children being exposed and being able to just ask why, or why is this person like this? Or so I think that whole sensitivity, the whole inclusion issue becomes apparent when you think about where you're at in the world and what you're exposed to. So I've luckily been exposed to a whole lot because of Jack. So that's why, again, I call him one of my greatest teachers, because he's exposed me
absolutely
to all of this. So
would your advice to teachers who are not exposed just to dig, just to research, to try to maybe do it on your own while it's not so available?
Yeah. And I think, obviously the internet and Facebook and Instagram have really helped open our eyes up to a lot of children with disabilities, and you see a lot of wonderful things going viral. So I think that has helped, and that gives us an advantage.
Yeah, that's a special thing for your students to be able to interact with Jack.
They do, and they love him.
Yeah.
One of my students right now is doing her honors thesis on the eye gaze communication device that Jack uses, and so she's using Jack as one of her research subjects, and we're not really supposed to say that he's in the research project. We had to go through this whole URB thing and whatever, but anyway, she's coming weekly to our house and doing a lesson with Jack, and she has learned so much just from working with him.
What do you feel when you see Jack make such a difference in other people's lives like that?
I just love it.
Yeah.
It just
you have to be very proud.
I am very proud of him. I could talk about him for hours. I'm very proud of
that's his
of
purpose,
him.
to be a teacher.
It is. Yeah. He has, and that's what we always said. Like, he's here. My husband always said that too. That he's here for a bigger reason.
Absolutely.
So we're using him as much as we can. So
That's great.
I may sound like a broken record, but Go Shout Love is here to do amazing things for amazing families like Jack's, and we want you to participate in those amazing things. Here is your chance to make a real impact. Visit our website at goshout.love to support Jack through the purchase of a t-shirt, sweater, hoodie, or other items. Every item sold in October will go towards a ceiling lift track to help Jack move from room to room in their home. You can also do this every month. Go to our website and start a monthly subscription. As an added bonus, use the discount code PODCAST at checkout, PODCAST, to get $5 off your first month.
Grammy, I can't get over how you just sit here and you're just being so proud. But as a mother, witnessing your daughter as a mother, what do you think has been the biggest change in Cassie since
She went
Jack?
from not wanting to sleep over at the neighbors ever, such a scared little girl, shy. I even bought her a book when she was little because I taught school. I started out as a teacher also, about Miss Shy, because she just struggled so much with interacting with people. She had some great friends in the neighborhood, but when it came time to sleep over, she was scared and afraid of everything. And then to see her, she's amazing, so I get a double
What
bang.
makes you the most proud about her?
How she's been able to keep going through all of this. She got her master's degree through all of this. She got her principalship, and now she's teaching at a university.
It has to make you so proud too, as a teacher and a grandmother, that Jack's out here teaching. I mean, that is just awesome.
And I was able to go to St. Francis, as Anne goes also, our nurse, but I was able to go and witness him actually teaching the students and how they love on him. And
that's such a gift.
just to see the look in Megan, the little girl she was talking about that's doing her research project, just to see her come into the house and how he lights up when he sees her, big eyes, and she just beaming when she's working with him, just to know that, he's the reason for her happiness right now and what she's working on. And it's just all meant to be, so.
We have Anne here, who is Jack's nurse. And how long have you been with Jack and his family?
Going on 4 years.
And you stole him from your
I
husband,
stole him
is that
from
right?
my husband, yes. My husband was his nurse and took care of him at nights before Cassie was working, like she said. And then she wanted to go back to work and teach and everything, so then transitioned into, they had a daylight position open, and I said I was taking it.
We hear so many great things about nurses from our families and how important they are and how much of a member of the family you become. What has been your favorite thing about being Jack's nurse?
Well, there's too much to list. I mean, it's just great every day going there and seeing him light up in the mornings when I get there. And just throughout the day, we do different things. Like, I mean, we sit and we watch, like Cassie had said before, we watch Young and the Restless. That's our 12:30 thing. We play with his balloons when he has balloons there. Just different things. I mean, but aside from that, I feel like I gained another family.
Mm-hmm. Do you have kids of your own?
I do. My daughter's 21. She's graduated respiratory therapy.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah, she actually just got called today. She has an interview at Children's.
Oh, wow.
What's her name?
Montana.
Good luck, Montana.
Yeah. So she's pretty excited about that because she loves kids as well.
Aww.
So she's pretty excited.
Have you worked with kids before, like Jack?
Not like Jack, no. I've been a nurse since 2005, and I worked long-term care for a while, and then I transitioned into working in a doctor's office. It was a pain clinic. So I worked there for probably a good 10 years. And then my husband switched. He went from working in the doctor's office to doing pediatrics. And that's when he started with Jack and other kiddos. And he said, you should probably give it a try. And I said, I don't think that's I don't know that I could do that. Like, I just didn't feel it. So I did it part-time for a little bit. And I was like, oh, yeah, I could do this. So I've had other children that were similar to Jack, but not as complex as Jack.
And
so
then
to
Jack
speak.
hooked you.
And then Jack hooked me, and there's probably no turning back now.
To keep with the teacher theme, what would you say is the greatest thing that Jack has taught you?
Patience, because I was not a very patient person before. And love. I mean, he overwhelms you with love and joy. So I would say that's pretty much.
Yeah.
That's
great.
What do you feel when you hear a nurse talk about your son that way?
Well, yeah, love and joy. I just love her. I wouldn't be able to leave the house without her. I had such anxiety before, and she's really helped me with that, just being there and having
brings you peace of mind.
It does. Her and our night nurse, Lori, as well. They're both there. Anne's there 5 days a week. Lori's there 5 nights a week. And I wouldn't be able to do what I need to do to take care of myself and then in turn take care of Jack if I didn't have their help. And I know that he loves them just as much as they love him.
Yeah.
So
how do you process allowing people into your home and literally trusting your child's life in their hands?
I mean, it was hard at first, especially when I was a new mom and I didn't know what services were available to me then. I had our OT at the time say, no, you can get nursing help. And I was like, oh, I must look really tired. And I was very tired. So we started slow. Our first nurse, her name was Paula, and she, again, was wonderful. But she would only come in a couple nights a week until it was like, okay, I can do this. I know that I need taken care of. So, we just baby steps to allow nurses into our home. But once you get to know them, they become part of your family. And Anne is certainly a part of our family. And that's like when we knew that we were coming here today, we were like, would you come with us, please? We would like you to be a part of this with us because we want her to be a part of everything that we do. So
it's very special that you have her.
Thank you once again, Shouters, for listening. I hope you enjoyed the conversation with Cassie, Nancy, and Anne as much as we did. When you are finished here, please go rate and review us. I do sound like a broken record, but it really does go a long way in helping us shout love for families like this and reaching other people who could hear stories like this. If you have decided to join a monthly subscription, please use the discount code podcast at checkout. And when you are done with all of that, please continue shouting love. Thank you.